Hello, hello, and welcome to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950 and 5960. I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Chad Larson.
And I'm Joe Kirk.
And we're so happy to have our awesome guest, whom we all know, but none of you do, by Steve. His name is Steve May. Before we dive into who Steve May is, what his role is, Joe is going to remind us of our show's purpose.
Well, before I remind you of the show's purpose, Steve was past president of the Edina Morningside. Wow.
I was going to do all of that when we started talking to Steve.
Well, I wanted to give him a little proper introduction.
Right.
And he's going to be talking to us today about the Afghan refugee program that Rotary was involved in. But real quick, the purpose of Searching for Service is we wanted to reach out to Rotarians and non-Rotarians alike and really highlight the awesome opportunities out there for service and the great organizations and people and tell their stories. So we're really excited to tell Steve's story and learn more about the Afghan project.
Welcome.
Hey, it's great to be here, and I'm Steve May, and it truly is exciting. I come from a legacy Rotary family. My father was a 40-plus year member of Rotary clubs in Iowa and California, and he always took on the big job. So it's great to be here, and Rotary's been in my blood, and this Afghan project is another one of those chapters, notches in your belt, so to speak, on what happens to you when you get involved.
Well, I was going to say, speaking of taking on big projects, it sounds like the apple doesn't fall very far from the tree in terms of like you being your father's son and taking on.
Wait, you're an apple? No, just kidding.
My father, to back up, the story of how I became president of Edina Morningside Rotary Club was they called me and said, we have an emergency opening in being president. And my father was a sales guy, and he said, if you aren't on the road, you aren't working. So that meant I traveled for about 40 years. And so I told my dad that I wasn't going to become Rotary president. And he was in his 80s. And he called me up at 3 in the morning one day and said, you're going to take that job on. Well, he didn't call me in a few days. He called me in like 8 hours later and said, you're taking that job on. And then he called me at 9 o'clock in the morning and said, did you say yes? And I said, I've called him and I'm Rotary president. So he was like, good job, boy. And he hung up. But
gosh, funny.
You know, but this has been a great project to talk about the Afghans and what we've done with that community. And this was another one of those truly organic projects that happens in Rotary is somebody comes up with an idea and then all of a sudden it just mushrooms and everybody in Rotary picks up part of it and takes it on, and there's so many rewarding stories from this, and I think a lot of people have felt that same type of reward.
Yeah. Well, and it's been really incredible listening to the opportunities that you get to share with our club in the morning, just updates on how everything has been. And now we're at a point where like it's kind of like an ongoing update that you have, which is wonderful. So,
how long have you been a Rotarian?
I've been a Rotarian for 19 years, and so it's been a great journey of all these different projects, and actually over time you end up developing really great friendships from all these projects, and now we sit back and go, remember when we did X? And then we chuckle and we went, well, we were pretty naive then. And you go, oh boy, what were we thinking, you know? I mean, we tried to set a Guinness Book of World Record project one time on the longest bike parade. And so we had Greg LeMond was our Grand Marshal, and so that was really interesting. But this one was probably the one that combined your professional skills along with what, just being a Rotarian and everybody jumping in, because we had no idea where this was going to go. And in the age of Zoom, we just got on these Zoom calls, and everybody's looking at you, and I go, oh, I guess I it's my Zoom account, so I guess I'm the leader. That's how it happened.
I guess that's how that rolls.
That's how that rolls. So folks out there, don't have your own Zoom account if you don't want to be the leader.
Yeah.
And so then, we took it from there, and, it was really good. So.
Okay, so you've been a Rotarian for 19 years, and have you always been here in Minnesota? Because I know that Iowa came up in conversation.
So I'm an upper Midwestern guy. I was born in Madison.
Okay.
Grew up in eastern Iowa, Muscatine, to be exact. And then I moved up here in 1985 for my career after being an Iowa State Cyclone.
Go Cyclones!
Yeah, there we go. And, so that's kind of my journey. I don't stray too much off the beaten path except for those Monday through Fridays when I used to travel every week and go wherever the money was. But, so I've been a Rotarian up here, and it was really pretty interesting. One day I mentioned my father, but we're in the car together, and he's going, "It's time for you to be a Rotarian. Go find a club." And so you went and interviewed a couple clubs, and then you said, the great thing about our club is, the meetings start at 7:30 and you're done at 8:30, and it gives you the opportunity to go about your day.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And that's really good. And I think everybody at this table's experienced that.
Yeah.
It's so funny. There are individuals who have expressed interest in coming to one of our Rotary meetings, and every time I'm like, it's at 7:30 in the morning, they're like, how do you get up that early? How are you up and ready and at a meeting by 7:30 in the morning? I'm like,
Perfect candidates for the noon club.
Yeah.
I just do. So,
I hear
but
the opposite from some of my friends. They're like, "Oh, it's perfect," because the same reason. It's like I can get to the office still, by 9 and get to the day. Somebody shared, was it? I don't know if I was watching. It was in the show, but that the morning ones attract less women than men. It was either at the Tri Conference when I was watching some video from it, and I was surprised, but I thought, well,
getting the kiddos to school.
I was just going to say, I have my thoughts
or
on
just
it.
Obviously it's just a better fit at noon.
Yeah,
and I didn't think there would be that dynamic.
My guess is it's getting the kids up and ready and out the door and trying to get yourself ready too.
You're worried about the bus.
Yeah.
At that time, but that was interesting. Yeah. Sorry, I took us
we
in a
digress.
No, I like that. That makes sense.
It's the life of being a Rotarian.
Yeah.
You end up becoming friends over all kinds of different things.
Yeah, I know. But we do digress.
So why don't you briefly kind of intro into the project? How did it get started?
Well, we're all aware of, what happened when the United States was airlifting folks out of Afghanistan. And so how we got involved is there was one of our distinguished members, Tom Gump, knew people at the Veterans Club, and they were getting involved in helping the Afghan community get resettled in Minnesota. And this was kind of at the beginning, at the forefront. And so actually how it started is Tom said we're going to have a Rotary Community Corps. And the Rotary Community Corps, the beautiful thing about that is we're a conduit to a lot of different organizations helping make things happen. And so we had 4 different clubs involved in this. We had the Bloomington, and we had the Edina Noon, and the Eden Prairie Club all involved. And we're partnering up on this. And as we go along, Tom said, well, you've got 10 days to get all the paperwork filled out. It's got to be submitted by January 1. So this was the 10th of December. So, all right, we got all the paperwork submitted. But we developed the Rotary Community Corps, and it's a way for us to bridge and become more involved out in the community. And so we started that up, and then it was like, oh, who are we going to partner with? Well, we're going to partner with the Veterans Club. And I went to a Bloomington meeting where Bob Keller was presenting, and I remember it was the coldest day of the year. Not this past year, but the year before. And I'm there, and he's talking about, here's what we're going to do. And that was my first introduction to the Afghan community and what we were going to try to accomplish in terms of helping them get resettled. But we had no roadmap on what we were going to do.
Right. That was the thing. I remember when we were experiencing it in real time. It was like we were making it up as we went along. Like, I mean, we were like, I don't know, we need a space, so we found a space. But we like just reach out, and it was literally the epitome of making it up as you went.
It exactly was. And when I talked about this Zoom call, we would have 10 people who were all interested in this, and we're going, what are we going to do? What's our mission? Mm-hmm. And we had some people in our group that were true entrepreneurs, and they loved that environment. Then we had other people who were involved in Fortune 100 companies, and they're like, we need a manual. There is no manual for this one.
Yeah.
And, and people are like, I can't deal in this environment. I'm getting out. And then we had other people, this is what I really like. And so we developed this community core. And, the key thing is what could we really do to help these people? And that was filtering that out and getting started on that quickly before we lost our momentum was really a big deal, because we had a lot of people saying, if we're just going to spin our wheels, Rotarians are people of action. Yeah.
Yes.
They want to do something. If you have them show up at a meeting and they're all standing around drinking cheap coffee, that's a bad day.
Yeah.
They want something to happen.
Yeah.
And so that's where we found ourselves. And, it ended up working out. But that nudge by everybody to say, get this structured was important.
Yeah. Speaking of nudges, we're going to nudge our way into our second segment here, but it was perfect to tee up exactly what we're going to be talking about, the Rotary Community Corps, and then obviously the Afghan project specifically. So go ahead, Kelly, take us out of here.
As a reminder, you're listening to Searching for Service. I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Chad Larson.
And I'm Joe Kirk.
See you on the flip side.
Rotary is a place for all community-minded people who want to serve their areas with the support of an international organization. Join Rotary to find service. Join Rotary to find inclusion. Join Rotary to find leadership. Join Rotary to find fun. Join Rotary to find friendship. Join Rotary to find a better version of the world. Find a Rotary Club near you at Rotary.org and click on Club Finder. There is a club out there for everyone. Find your fit with Rotary. Rotary.org.
For decades, eradicating polio worldwide has been Rotary's cornerstone cause. We are incredibly close to ridding the globe of this virus, but we need everyone's help to get us to the goal. World Polio Day is October 24th. Please consider making a new donation to Polio Plus or increasing your already generous giving. Go to endpolio.org to be a part of this historical eradication of polio. You will help get vaccinations to the most remote parts of our world and help fulfill a promise we made to end polio now. 2 drops and it stops.
Don't miss Leonard Skinner, Darius Rucker, REO Speedwagon, and Tyler Hubbard at Lakefront Music Fest, July 14th and 15th at Lakefront Park in Prior Lake. Leonard Skinner headlines July 14th with REO Speedwagon and Blackstone Cherry. Darius Rucker headlines July 15th with Tyler Hubbard of Florida Georgia Line and Joe Nichols. Tickets available at lakefrontmusicfest.com. That's lakefrontmusicfest.com. Produced by Prior Lake Rotary.
Riverbend Nature Center is a free, nonprofit natural habitat in Faribault, Minnesota, with 743 acres, the Straight River, and 10 miles of trails. Despite no public funding, it offers educational programs to almost 10,000 youth and families annually. Riverbend seeks your feedback on its new strategic plan at rbnc.org/strategic-planning by March 30th. Thank you for your time.
Hello and welcome back to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950 and 5960. I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Chad Larson.
And I'm Joe Kirk.
As a reminder, you can find us on your favorite podcast platforms, and
you need to search Searching for Service. We'd love if you like, follow, and share, and give 5-star reviews. And if you're listening to the show and you want to hear past shows, you can find past shows that we've done as well.
And,
all of them.
And throw it in there that it's the best hosts ever.
Yeah. If you want to just drop some, fun information like
Kelly.
that.
Just Kelly. That's it.
Well, I do want to just actually say that speaking of past shows, we just hit a nice little benchmark of 30 episodes.
Yeah.
Not
It's pretty
too long
incredible.
ago. So
Yeah.
I think we need to just take a moment and acknowledge that because that's woo! You can hear clapping in the background.
Really quick,
So-
not to hijack too much of the time, I think it's 1% of all podcasts reach 20 episodes, and then 1% after that reach another 20, I think it is, or something like that. It's some ridiculously small amount. So
You know, that's interesting.
we're already in the 1%.
Yeah, that's interesting because I feel like everyone and their mother is starting podcasts.
Starting podcast is the key
Yeah,
word to
that's
that.
true. That's
The
very
consistency
true.
is what's key and hard to do. You know, as we,
Speaking of consistency,
Yeah, I
should we
was
get
going to
back
say, we do have a special guest here, and if this is your first time tuning in, we have Steve May, who is our former past president of Edina Morningside Rotary Club, and he is heading this amazing project, the Afghan Refugee Project. So our last segment, whatever you want to call it,
Whatever you call it is what we call it.
one of the two section. The last section, we got to know Steve, and then we really started to dive into like what was the Afghan Refugee Project, how did it start. So we ended with like the community core and how that was kind of the pivotal moment of getting everything started. So let's pick up.
When did you guys get like your training wheels kind of came off and you were like, oh boy, okay, here we go?
Well, I met Bob Keller at the Bloomington meeting on January 3rd of 2022, and we started hosting meetings for the Afghan community by the end of the month.
Wow.
So we were having weekly
Holy
Zoom
moly.
calls going, all right, so let's say you have 100 people show up. What are you going to do? I mean, you just can't have them all in the room, and you're dealing with complex issues like they don't speak English. They have two languages, so you need to translate into Pashto and Darvi. And then what do you want to talk about? And then you need subject matter experts.
Yeah.
And so you're dealing with, a lot of people put meetings on and they got 6 months to plan. We had like 20 days, and we're trying to figure out where we're even starting location-wise, what the content would be, when would be a best time to meet with the Afghans. Is it Monday night or Friday morning or weekends?
So not only did you have a full-time job, and being the Rotary president, and another full-time job, basically.
Well, tell us a little bit about the makeup of the refugees. Was it mostly women and children, a lot of men, or a little bit of everything?
No, it was predominantly men that were in the room. But we did, as Rotarians, we were trying to do our best to be inclusive to everybody who was in the room. And so that was really kind of important to make sure that everybody was invited. But it was generally men. And, when we started out with the first programs, big challenge was what are their needs? Mm-hmm. And at that point, we were getting phone calls, and we are not let me clarify this up front, we don't have the resources to do this, but we were having people call us up with medical issues. We were having people that live 3 blocks away from a Cub store with a whole bunch of food vouchers, but didn't know how to get to Cub and didn't know where it was. So they went like 3 days without any food. All kinds of one-off issues that we were dealing with, along with trying to identify what were the core issues that we wanted to talk about.
What were the core, say, 3 issues you guys identified as something that you guys could do something about?
So we wanted to become connectors with subject matter experts in 4 areas. One was helping them understand language skills and gain those to help them navigate around. Transportation, which was really key, and we got a great story about that. The driver's manuals are in English, and the Afghans know Pashto and Darvi, And we got a quote to translate the driver's manuals into those languages, $21,000.
Wow.
I mean, and Rotarians, if we have an extra $100, it's going into some service project.
Yeah.
So $21,000 was just astronomical.
Yeah.
And so one of the great stories is we have a brand new Rotarian show up at a meeting, and I say, it's $21,000 to translate this. And he raises his hand. He works for a hedge fund and says, we've got software that can translate that. Get me the manual. $21,000 goes down to one of our brand new members at his first meeting.
Yeah.
About 3 hours worth of work. And we're like, holy smokes. That's how Rotarian type projects end up working.
That's cool.
Yeah. So, transportation, but trying to figure out how to get them driver's license and everything, or how do you get the money for a used vehicle? And at that time, used vehicles were really expensive.
Yeah.
Employment. So we had employers show up. We had tiny little job fairs with organizations that were doing anything they could to get employment. And then legal issues. How do they get the papers to be able to stay in the country? And by that time, there weren't very many immigration attorneys raising their hands saying they wanted to do this work.
Yeah.
So those were the 4 areas that we focus on. So hopefully, Joe, that gives a little bit of a context of where we were trying to put our emphasis and our energy at that time.
What was the biggest challenge for the committee, like the group? It sounds like getting focused was one of them. But then once you guys established your focus, what was the biggest challenge? Was that just rallying the troops, kind of getting those subject matter experts, or was it something different?
I would say that Americans operate on a little different schedule than the Afghans. And so we love their passion and the success stories that we've had. But communicating was a little bit of a challenge.
Yeah.
Sure.
And because when Americans say a meeting is going to start at 12:15, that's what we like to do. But we didn't realize the challenges that the Afghans had, because they maybe had 8 cars to bring people to a meeting, 100 people, and they'd have 8 people in each car, and then and then extra, and so they were driving around town picking them up. And we just thought everybody had a car and could just drive in and would have 100 cars in the parking lot, and we started. Well, then they'd say, we've got people out running routes to pick people up. It was kind of like the bus. And, and so us all coming together. But that was one of the beautiful things about the project, is learning about other cultures and how everybody works and being able to pull this together and be seamless and have success stories. That was really a great thing. And on the flip side, we couldn't have done any of this without our friends at the Minnesota Council of Churches, because they had all the connections with the Afghan community. They were marvelous.
So talk a little bit more about that connection between Rotary and the Council of Churches and how that worked out.
So once again, a member of ours was on the board at Minnesota Council of Churches, Paul Nelson.
Yeah, I was just going to say.
He's on the board, and he said, call this guy. And we called Ben Whalen up, and Ben gave us a 45-minute dissertation on working with the refugee people when we were on one of these Zoom calls. And then we had Shaw, who knew Bob Keller, and started pulling that all together. And Shaw wasn't an employee of MCC at that time. But having Shaw be so involved in knowing the community, and he is all about building community. Absolutely. That is his passion, and he's wonderful at it. So he was the conduit that helped make it happen. And he knew all these people, and they'd be coming in to these events, and it was just awesome.
That is absolutely incredible.
Well, it was so incredible that we were asked to give a presentation at the Peace Conference for Rotary International at the International Convention. And Shaw and I and Tom Gump flew down there and was on a panel.
Wow.
And here's an agriculture guy on a peace conference panel.
Yeah.
And, nobody would ever connect those dots, but that's what Rotary does for us. And people go, well, how'd it go? And it was incredible. We had people from around the world, Europe, asking us questions about how things worked. And I could truly walk out of there and say, we were really competent at what we've had experienced in the last 8 or 9 months.
You had no choice to. You had to make it from scratch. It's not like, again, there wasn't a manual that you could go to.
Right.
And so the competency level has to be off the charts.
Yeah. It was just crazy how that, people are asking us questions, and I'm like, yeah, we were there. We had that problem. Here's how you address it.
Yeah, this is how we succeeded.
Yeah.
That's really great.
Yeah.
Well, I think that's a good way for us to tee up the next section, just talking about some of the outcomes that have come from this project, and then a few other things too.
Yeah, excited.
As a reminder, you're listening to Searching for Service. I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Chad Larson.
And I'm Joe Kirk.
See you on the flip side.
Rotary is a place for all community-minded people who want to serve their areas with the support of an international organization. Join Rotary to find service. Join Rotary to find inclusion. Join Rotary to find leadership. Join Rotary to find fun. Join Rotary to find friendship. Join Rotary to find a better version of the world. Find a Rotary Club near you at Rotary.org and click on Club Finder. There is a club out there for everyone. Find your fit with Rotary. Rotary.org.
For decades, eradicating polio worldwide has been Rotary's cornerstone cause. We are incredibly close to ridding the globe of this virus, but we need everyone's help to get us to the goal. World Polio Day is October 24th. Please consider making a new donation to Polio Plus or increasing your already generous giving. Go to endpolio.org to be a part of this historical eradication of polio. You will help get vaccinations to the most remote parts of our world and help fulfill a promise we made to end polio now. 2 drops, and it stops.
Don't miss Leonard Skinner, Darius Rucker, REO Speedwagon, and Tyler Hubbard at Lakefront Music Fest, July 14th and 15th at Lakefront Park in Prior Lake. Leonard Skinner headlines July 14th with REO Speedwagon and Blackstone Cherry. Darius Rucker headlines July 15th with Tyler Hubbard of Florida Georgia Line and Joe Nichols. Tickets available at lakefrontmusicfest.com. That's lakefrontmusicfest.com. Produced by Prior Lake Rotary.
Riverbend Nature Center is a free, nonprofit natural habitat in Faribault, Minnesota, with 743 acres, the Straight River, and 10 miles of trails. Despite no public funding, it offers educational programs to almost 10,000 youth and families annually. Riverbend seeks your feedback on its new strategic plan at rbnc.org/strategic-planning by March 30th. Thank you for your time.
Hello, and welcome back to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950 and 5960. I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Chad Larson.
And I'm Joe Kirk.
As a reminder, you can find us on your favorite podcast platforms, and
You have to search for Searching for Service, and we love 5-star reviews.
And that's it.
Like, follow, share.
Follow, share.
You
Yeah.
can find old shows,
Leave a
older shows
review.
too.
30 shows into this thing.
I know. Leave a review. Well, the dynamic has changed. We've got 3 people now versus 2. So if you are tuning in for the first time, we have Steve May, who is a past president of the Edina Morningside. I want to say country club, but Rotary Club. But he also heads the Afghan refugee project. And for our last section, we just talked about, we learned more about that. But now we want to talk about the outcomes, like what has come of it, because it sounds like you've got some pretty incredible stories.
Well, yeah, this has been, when you're in America in 2023, and we're Rotarian, as I said earlier, everybody wants to know, what did we get accomplished? We want to be people of action. So it's like, better keep a list of everything that potentially happened. But, I mentioned, we had like a career fair. And we helped the Afghans get exposure to what it means to get a job in the United States. And We had people who landed jobs pretty quickly, like at Toro, Emerson. We had a number of other organizations. We had one member who had an individual come up and say they were involved in horticulture. And that member said, I'm a landscape architect. I could use a horticulture person. I mean, in 10 minutes, that guy was hired. It was just incredible. And just a little quick side story. That individual came out of Afghanistan with his wife and his baby. And they were, let's just say some people wanted to meet them, and it wasn't going to be favorable. Mm-hmm. And this individual kept all their papers underneath the baby's wet diaper and got through 14 checkpoints and got on the airplane and got out. And so they're very grateful to be in the United States. And all these people are so grateful for what they've had given to them. But so people got jobs. We help people find, get these driver's license.
That is like the best ringtone.
Yeah, it's like nails on a chalkboard. It's great.
Oh, sorry about that, folks. So we help people find food. The driver's license was a really big deal. Legal assistance. So we had the advocates showed up and their attorneys, and they could talk about here is the process to be able to get into the country. And maybe the biggest thing, though, that we did is we had 11 meetings in 2022. And we actually had Afghans walk into the Edina Community Center, big, huge hall, and they would spot a friend, somebody they knew from Afghanistan on the other side of the room, and they'd walk across the room and embrace.
Yeah.
It was like, I haven't seen you.
Yeah.
And you got to keep in mind, the environment that they came out of wasn't the most favorable.
Yeah. Tumultuous.
Yes. Tumultuous is a really good word.
It's a great word.
Tumultuous, yeah. Mm-hmm. I can feel the, just that moment, the embrace and, the emotions that I'm sure you could see, but that they were feeling, too. It's just heartwarming.
Yeah. So it was really those kind of interactions, and people who work in the refugee space kept on telling me, Steve, you don't realize how important this is, what Rotary's doing to help these people develop a community. I mean, one day they celebrated Afghan Independence Day, and that was a remarkable experience because we had nothing to do with the program other than we facilitated getting the room.
Sure.
But they played Afghan music. They had people give speeches on the history of Afghanistan. I mean, for 2 hours, and then they went outside and they had the Afghan flags out on the soccer field, and we're doing cheers. I mean, so them being able to keep this connection to their country, but also embracing the opportunity that they had received in the United States, was quite the. It really drew on your emotions and helped you say, all right, we're doing something that's really out of the ordinary. And that's a great feeling, and I think a lot of Rotarians felt that.
As you went, you talked about 11 meetings. Did those really evolve as you went, or were the same needs kind of consistent throughout?
Chad, that's a great question, and we struggled with what was the right formula for those meetings. How much of it should be somebody presenting information, or how much should it be of them helping lead the program? And it evolved over time, where we started out a lot more structure, and then over time would have one or two people present, and then they would kind of take over and have some of the presentation and the meeting. But, they would eat pizza and talk amongst themselves and develop community from that standpoint. And that was really
the community building.
Really big, which it's kind of challenging when you're a Rotarian, you don't know their language. So you're like, this is happening.
Yeah.
You can see it.
You could see it, but
feel it.
You could feel it.
That's so perfect, because that was literally going to be my next question. Was what was the unmeasurable outcome that came from that? It sounds like it's the community component, and I think we would be remiss not to also say they're essentially running this on their own now. Correct. We've kind of stepped aside, and we helped get it going, and we've really just stepped aside and allowed that community to manage, evolve, and help itself.
Yep, and that's been remarkable to have that happen. In that we step back, they're reserving the room by themselves. I get a text sometimes the Friday night before saying we're having a meeting, come show up. And would like to see you. And they're so grateful for Rotary and everything that we've done. I mean, there's 75 people, and they talk about what we did and what MCC did to help make that happen. And now they're like 3 weeks out telling us, hey, come on by. When you're part of the family, some of these people, because we've had meetings amongst their leadership and us, just trying to bridge this gap and get to this point, Joe, and that was the big objective, was to help make them self-sufficient. And now that if we want to get to an outcome, that's the real big win, is that 75% of the people are self-sufficient after about 18 months.
That's incredible.
It is.
Yeah.
Whereas, you think about what would the outcome have looked like if they didn't have a resource like that? Like, how much longer would it have taken? And it would have, nobody really knows the true answer to that, but
it would have taken longer.
Oh, well, I know.
Right?
I can imagine it would be at least double the amount of time, if not longer. So, it's incredible that you can kind of come in, provide these resources, get them all coordinated into that particular environment, that community, and then they go off running.
Well, it's the marker of pretty much every nonprofit work out there, is they're trying to eliminate the need for their service. We've had other people on here, and they're like, we just want to never be necessary, and that should be the truest marker of success for this program, is you're not needed anymore, but you're welcomed. Mm-hmm. I think that's really special.
Well, and they still have you as a resource, too. So when the need comes up for any sort of specific component of what the need is, then they can tap you and go, hey, where can we find this? How can we get access to this?
Well, that's absolutely correct. And take it beyond that. We are having a lot of organizations within Minnesota and the Twin Cities Metro that I probably get 3 emails a month from people saying, you were involved in the Afghan situation. How would you go handle this? Somebody contacted last week and said, we're trying to find somebody to help fix an Afghan's automobile. Any suggestions? On down the line, we're getting emails and questions, or who would you talk to about this? What about that? And now, build on that, we're finding other groups that are coming into Minnesota to learn about refugee services from other countries, and they're contacting us saying, what did you do with the Afghans? So it really has developed into this community core thing that we tried to do 18 months ago that has happened, because now we got this network. Like one of our members is very involved in the library system, Maureen Smith. Mm-hmm. And she was at every meeting, and she was at about 8 of them, and nobody ever talked to her. And then all of a sudden a bunch of kids showed up, and she had coloring books. Boom! The coloring books disappeared. I mean, the kids were so happy. And so she was a tremendous resource.
It seems like such a little thing when in actuality it turns out to be like a huge component of that figurative manual that you guys have created. Mm-hmm. So
it's been fun.
Well, and it'll be fun to explore in the next segment what you hope or see as the future of the Rotary Community Corps, and how it can serve other groups or it sounds like a lot of it has to do with being a model for what's next. So we'll talk a bit more about what we think what that next looks like and how that it can continue to succeed.
As a reminder, you're listening to Searching for Service. I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Chad Larson.
And I'm Joe Kirk.
We'll see you at the next section.
Rotary is a place for all community-minded people who want to serve their areas with the support of an international organization. Join Rotary to find service. Join Rotary to find inclusion. Join Rotary to find leadership. Join Rotary to find fun. Join Rotary to find friendship. Join Rotary to find a better version of the world. Find a Rotary Club near you at Rotary.org and click on Club Finder. There is a club out there for everyone. Find your fit with Rotary. Rotary.org.
For decades, eradicating polio worldwide has been Rotary's cornerstone cause. We are incredibly close to ridding the globe of this virus, but we need everyone's help to get us to the goal. World Polio Day is October 24th. Please consider making a new donation to Polio Plus or increasing your already generous giving. Go to endpolio.org to be a part of this historical eradication of polio. You will help get vaccinations to the most remote parts of our world and help fulfill a promise we made to end polio now. 2 drops and it stops.
Don't miss Leonard Skinner, Darius Rucker, REO Speedwagon, and Tyler Hubbard at Lakefront Music Fest, July 14th and 15th at Lakefront Park in Prior Lake. Leonard Skinner headlines July 14th with REO Speedwagon and Blackstone Cherry. Darius Rucker headlines July 15th with Tyler Hubbard of Florida Georgia Line and Joe Nichols. Tickets available at lakefrontmusicfest.com. That's lakefrontmusicfest.com. Produced by Prior Lake Rotary.
Riverbend Nature Center is a free, nonprofit natural habitat in Faribault, Minnesota, with 743 acres, the Straight River, and 10 miles of trails. Despite no public funding, it offers educational programs to almost 10,000 youth and families annually. Riverbend seeks your feedback on its new strategic plan at rbnc.org/strategic-planning by March 30th. Thank you for your time.
Hello and welcome back to Searching for Service, brought to you by Rotary District 5950 and 5960. I'm Kelly Kirk.
I'm Chad Larson.
And I'm Joe Kirk.
As a reminder, you can find us on your favorite podcast platforms, and we love
5-star reviews.
5 gold stars.
And you can find us by searching for Service. So we should be on all platforms.
Tongue twister.
Yeah,
poor Chad.
I've tried to find a better way.
Inputs, searching for service.
Type in. All right. If you're tuning in for the first time, we have Steve May. He is the past president for Edina Morningside Rotary Club. But more importantly, subsequently,
Indubitably.
he also was head of the Afghan refugee project, and what an incredible project it has been. So we've learned about Steve. We've learned about how the Afghan refugee project came to fruition, some of the outcomes. But now we always like to end talking about with our guests what they envision for these specific nonprofits or projects that they have been a part of. And so we started talking a little bit about some of that stuff during our break. So let's dive in.
Well, it's great. One thing with regard to this project, that is a big question of how do they end, and as you're running a business, or what part of your projects should you quit, and where's the energy, and what are you going to put into the next one? And this project was a project that just organically happened all of a sudden, as hopefully you got that point. And, the Afghan community is 75% self-sufficient now, and which is tremendous after 18 months. So we have backed away from helping organize all their meetings and, facilitating communication with a lot of different groups. But we do still have the master Afghan list. So when something needs to happen, we do get involved. Mm-hmm. If somebody has a question who's helping an Afghan family, we've got resources that we get involved in and help direct them to wherever they need to go. So we see, though, the Afghan community continuing to take this community building concept and doing it more so on their own. But we've learned a lot of things from this. And so obvious question is there a need to get involved with the Ukrainian community coming here? I mean, now one thing we learned is that all the refugees are somewhat different. So they know, the Ukrainian community knows English better than the Afghan community. So that's a big advantage. So they, as we've been here, have been quicker to get established, develop ability to navigate around Minnesota and into United States society. But there's a lot of them that they believe are going to be coming. Also, there's a lot of resources coming from the state to help the resettlement agencies like MCC. Okay. But what happens is there's a gap. You've got these resettlement agencies that are helping these individuals, and then after 6 months, the resources diminish. Yep. And that was the gap that happened for Rotary in the Rotary Community Corps. That's where we filled the gap, is that everybody was going, where do we go now? Yeah. And there's nobody there. And the resources, those people are in helping people resettle. They're pretty good-hearted people, so they just don't turn them loose, but they aren't getting paid, and all of a sudden they don't have the resources. Yeah. So that's where we fit in, and I think there will be other opportunities. There is a delegation coming over from Poland in this fall, and they're like, how do we help refugees? And they're like, we'll go talk to the Rotarians. They've been involved in it. Yeah. So that's an example of how we will be putting on a program to help them see some resources. And there's a lot of others in Minnesota. We aren't the only ones, but that's how Rotary can help participate in this.
If, a listener, non-Rotarian or Rotarian, would like to, help, donate, or look into this, where would they go? What organization would be kind of the, good spot to start?
I think they, two organizations that they could touch on, and I've mentioned Minnesota Council of Churches. They're one of the refugee service organizations that they could help. Your local churches all often have a family or two that they're helping support, and that takes a lot of effort when you get a family that comes here, because they might need rides to doctors' offices, might need rides to legal services, the grocery stores, everything. Yeah. And then find Edina Morningside Rotary Club on the web and look on there, and you'll see.
Contact Steve May at.
No, we're happy to see what we can do to help facilitate. That's the whole idea of helping. Rotarians are people who are engaged in the community, and we have a lot of resources that can help make things happen.
What's the future of your role within this organization? Or do you want to continue to, provide this support? I mean, it sounds like you're one of the family now, so you're in. So,
well, and Joe, that's a great question. I mean, people ask me, "Is this your lifelong dream?" And my lifelong dream is the great things that Rotary's allowed me to do, and this fits with that continuity. I don't see in 5 years that we're going to be involved in it in this manner, but there'll be other projects that'll come up that we're going to be working on. But, for the time being, it is really engaging. I'll share the story. At the last Afghan meeting, I met a young man about 30 years old. In 18 months, well, he's married, and I don't know if he was married before he got here or now, but he has bought a car and bought a house. Wow. I mean, buying a house when you don't know the language, you've got a new job, obviously.
Yeah. Trust me, buying a house, knowing the language is hard enough, right?
Yeah. Well, I was just enamored. I wanted to see the house key. And everybody was like, what's the big deal about seeing the house key? I go, that is a symbol of courage. Yeah. That, resiliency. that the Afghan community members have. And it's wonderful to see what they've overcome and what they've made happen. And Rotary's played a small part in it. And I'm proud to say our club in Bloomington and Eden Prairie and
Didn't he become a U.S. citizen as well?
Yeah, exactly.
Holy
Thanks.
smokes.
Yeah, I mean...
And that's...
Yeah.
We just had to renew our passports, and that in itself was like, Jesus, criminy. Getting the U.S. citizenship.
Yeah,
again.
I mean, these people are going through that whole process, and you should see the joy on their face when they get to stand in front of 75 of their peers and going, I'm a citizen.
Yeah.
That's so cool. In such a short period of time.
Yeah.
Quick.
Yeah, it's just remarkable.
The part that just I keep coming back to over and over again is, and I really see this is where, Rotary and this organization and it all coming together allowed the Afghans to find their community here. Like you said, every single meeting there'd be somebody else that would see another person that they knew back in Afghanistan, would go over and hug them. I mean, it just takes time to reconnect with everybody because, in the very beginning, you're just like, where am I? How do I get food? How do I get, where do I go?
They're dropped in the middle of January.
Welcome to Minnesota.
Yeah.
So.
But it's survival mode. I mean, they truly were just in survival mode for probably those first few months, and to be able to have that resource right away. Whew,
well, and it sounds like now that they're thriving because they were able to have the time, the resources. Somebody brought it all together for an extended period of time so that all of those things could work itself out. And now they have an incredible opportunity to live in an incredible country.
And they really do value that opportunity, which I've mentioned several times. The other thing that is continuing to happen is there are some new Afghan families coming in all the time. So it's not like the big wave that we saw early on in 2021, 2022, but we have still families coming in. And so I think it's great that they get to see success along the way, and now everybody's kind of like, oh, here's how we navigate.
Here's how we do it, yeah.
Yeah, you've got all of those other people that can kind of take their hand now and go, this is how we did it. These are the resources that we had, and then tap into you if there's any other needs as well.
We got about a little less than 1 minute left. What would be your advice to anybody that's looking to just get involved, whether it's Rotarian, non-Rotarian, not even specific to this project? Is it just find a need or what?
I'd say jump in, and I think be prepared that you'll have a new path that'll go forward. And I'm proud of the fact that Rotary gave me this opportunity to do it, and I'll be telling this story for the rest of my life.
You might have to clear the path with a machete, but
That's right.
And a few other people behind you as well.
That's good advice,
So.
that's for sure. Very
thanks,
good
Steve,
advice.
for being on.
Yeah, thanks
what a
for joining us.
great guest.
We were so happy to have you, and thank you again for joining us to share everything about the Afghan Refugee Project.
I will put the link for the Minnesota Council of Churches in the description if you're looking to find them to get involved at all as well.
Thank you for tuning in to Searching for Service. It's time to stop searching
And start serving.
Thanks for listening.